The conflict between Russia and Ukraine, which escalated dramatically in 2014 and worsened in 2022, has deep historical, political, and cultural roots. In this video, we'll explore the key events leading up to the current crisis and examine how it has evolved over the years. Historical background: Ukraine and Russia share a long history that goes back centuries, with Ukraine once being part of the Russian Empire and later the Soviet Union. However, Ukraine has a distinct culture, language, and national identity, which has often led to tensions with Russia, especially as Ukraine sought more independence. In 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed, and Ukraine declared its independence. Since then, Ukraine has been trying to establish itself as a fully sovereign state, though Russia often sought to maintain influence over Ukraine. The Orange Revolution, 2004. In 2004, Ukraine faced a pivotal moment with the Orange Revolution. Following a controversial presidential election, massive protests erupted in Ukraine, with citizens demanding fair elections and rejecting the government's pro-Russian candidate. Eventually, the revolution succeeded in installing a pro-Western president, Viktor Yushchenko. This event marked a shift in Ukraine's foreign policy, as many Ukrainians started to seek closer ties with Europe, which upset Russia. The Euromaidan protests, 2013 to 2014. In November 2013, President Viktor Yanukovych, who was seen as pro-Russian, decided to suspend an association agreement with the European Union, and instead sought closer relations with Russia. This sparked mass protests in Ukraine, known as Euromaidan, calling for greater European integration and government reforms. By February 2014, the protests turned violent, and Yanukovych fled to Russia. The interim government that took power leaned toward pro-European policies, further angering Russia. Russia's annexation of Crimea, 2014. In response to the political upheaval in Ukraine, Russia took decisive action. In March 2014, Russian forces invaded Crimea, a peninsula in southern Ukraine with a majority Russian-speaking population. A controversial referendum was held, and Crimea was officially annexed by Russia, though the move was widely condemned by the international community as illegal. The war in eastern Ukraine, 2014 present. Simultaneously, unrest grew in eastern Ukraine, where Russian-speaking populations in Donetsk and Luhansk regions declared independence, forming self-proclaimed republics. This led to full-scale armed conflict between Ukrainian forces and Russian-backed separatists. Russia was accused of providing military support, including troops and weapons, to the separatists, though it consistently denied direct involvement. The war resulted in thousands of casualties and widespread displacement. The Minsk agreements. In an attempt to de-escalate the situation, two ceasefire agreements known as the Minsk Protocols were signed in 2014 and 2015. However, the agreements failed to bring lasting peace, as both sides accused each other of violating the terms. The war continued to simmer in eastern Ukraine. The 2022 invasion. On February 24, 2022, Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, marking a dramatic escalation of the conflict. Russia claimed it was seeking to denazify and demilitarize Ukraine, but the move was widely seen as an attempt to overthrow the Ukrainian government and reassert control over Ukraine. The invasion led to widespread international condemnation, with many countries imposing severe sanctions on Russia and providing military aid to Ukraine. The war has led to significant loss of life, millions of refugees, and destruction across Ukraine. The global impact. The war has had far-reaching consequences, not just for Ukraine and Russia, but for the entire world. The invasion disrupted global supply chains, particularly in energy and food, as both Russia and Ukraine are key producers of oil, gas, and agricultural products. NATO and the European Union have been heavily involved, with Ukraine receiving substantial military and financial support from Western nations. This has further strained relations between Russia and the West. Current situation, 2025 and beyond. As of February 2025, the conflict is still ongoing. Despite heavy losses on both sides, there seems to be no immediate end in sight. Ukraine continues to defend its territory with the help of Western allies, while Russia remains determined to secure its goals in the region. The war has transformed Ukraine's national identity, making it more resolute in its desire to join Western institutions like NATO and the European Union. However, the human cost of the conflict remains tragically high. Conclusion: the Russian-Ukrainian war is a complex and devastating conflict with deep historical, political, and cultural roots. The future remains uncertain, but the resilience of the Ukrainian people and the international response will likely shape the next phase of this ongoing crisis. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos on this topic.